Okay, part 3. And yeah, that beeping, that honk honk sound, that is my special person. And, you know, I just figure I get this story out, one, because it's therapeutic, two, because I don't want people to go through what I did. And, you know, a friend of mine just had a baby, and she was asking me what the birthing experience is like. And I was torn between, well, do I tell her that it's perfect and magical and full of rainbows and sunshine and unicorns and you know, or do I say, well, it could go either way. You know, you could either, you know, have the picture-perfect birth, because I had that with my daughter. So, I mean, you know, the universe, you know, paid me back saying, sorry, you know, or, you know, you could be near death, you know. And, and it's just, you know, I don't want people to go through what I did, but at the same time, you know, I've held this in for 9 years. And I figure, you know, I'm trying to slay a lot of dragons. Over the last 6 months, 6 to 9 months or so. And it's time. It's time to let this out and let it go. I'm tired of carrying it around with me, although it's still going to sting a little bit every year, but letting it out is going to be a lot better. And my forehead's so huge it won't even help in the camera. What the hell? There we go, that's better. And yeah, my background has changed a bit. We rearranged the downstairs floor level, you know, where our dining room is now our living room, and our living room is now our computer something. Man, okay, but anyway, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my son. I love him very much. You know, I call him my little turkey baby because he was supposed to, according to the family, I was supposed to go into labor on Thanksgiving dinner, but, you know, I remember, you know, sitting there, you know, eating my, you know, turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, etc., and everybody looking at me, and I'm like, what? And my uncle-in-law started laughing. He's like, we're waiting for you to pop. And I was like, because I'm eating too much? And they're like, no, because you're pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, so? They're like, yeah, and your due date's the 29th, you know, and I was like, then what's your fucking point? I'm not going anywhere. This is Thanksgiving dinner. I'm hungry, you know, and they're just like, okay, you know, because Nathaniel had dropped a couple weeks before. You know, he had dropped into position, and so I was waddling around, and man, did my back hurt. Man, not as bad as my back is hurting right now, thank God. But wow, you know. And, you know, but no, Nathaniel was comfortable in there, and I was induced December 1st, and, went into labor all night, and, a lot of it is a blur because they gave me an epidural, so I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. I didn't know what was happening. I felt him crowning, and no nurse believed me when I said, I think the baby's head is between my legs. They're like, oh, don't be silly. You know, this is your first birth. You don't know. And I was like, well, either that or I just shit myself. You know, because I just was at the point where it was like, you guys obviously are acting like you don't give a crap. I'm getting really apprehensive here. I can't feel anything, so I don't know. And I'm looking at the monitors. I'm having a contraction every minute, lasting a minute, and nurse noticed that and said, oops. You know, whenever you hear the word oops in that kind of situation, it's like, how did you fuck up? Oh, nothing, you're fine. Because they don't want to admit fault, because once they admit fault, there's a lawsuit. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I mean, the whole time I was like, you know, what? You said oops. Turns out they had overdosed me on the Pitocin. And Pitocin is a synthetic hormone that induces contractions. It speeds up the labor. But not only does it speed up the labor, but it also, I believe, I'm not certain, I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, folks, because I don't know for sure. No, prove me wrong or prove me right, whatever. But Pitocin also is a blood thinner, and it doesn't, it makes the blood, the blood slower to clot, and that is crucial. The blood must clot, you know, and oh my God! After he was born, you know, I heard the first squawk of my son's voice. You know, like he was just like, he sounded like a cranky old man. Like, what? You know, and I was like, that's my boy. My heart stopped. I was like, oh my God, that's my baby. You know, it was like the sudden realization of, you know, this life that I had been carrying in my body for over 9 months is finally out. You know, and I was just like, let me see my baby. And they're like, no, we gotta get you cleaned up. And I was just like, okay, I can wait. You know, and they whisked him off to clean out his sinuses, and to check him and do the whole APGAR score or whatever, which basically they just, you know, check the breathing, check the color of the face, and do all this other stuff. And they smeared the freaking silver nitrate, I believe is what it was. They smeared that in his eyes. And I don't know why they did that, because I didn't have any kind of, like, major hoo-ha problems to where they had to put that shit in his eyes, but they smeared that in his eyes. They stabbed his little foot to check for abnormalities. I mean, he came from a place of comfort to a place of holy hell, like what the hell's going on kind of thing. So he was, you know, getting his what fors. I was getting mine. You know, Chuck was looking at me going, you know, you did a good job kind of thing, and I'm like, I'm just laying here and you guys are just telling me when to push. I didn't feel anything. This wasn't a birth, you know. It didn't feel right, you know. But I was trying to just hold that back, you know, I should be happy. I, just gave birth to a bouncing baby boy, and he's fine. He's just congested, quote unquote, you know. And then the midwife, she comes up and she's like, all right, are we done? And I was like, I don't know. You tell me, because they wouldn't tell me anything. And she reached in and she ripped out the afterbirth. Okay, and I know that sounds graphic, and I know that sounds horrid, and I know a whole bunch of women are grabbing their crotches going, oh my God, fuck you. Because, I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt. She just completely tore it out of my body. And, I remember asking her, I was like, what was that? She was like, oh, nothing, you're fine now. And then walked away, like it was nothing. Another nurse had to weigh it and make sure that it was the right weight or whatever. And I'm laying there going, what just happened to me? And I looked over at Chuck and I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. Because he didn't research, labor and delivery and all that. His aunt, on the other hand, she was holding up my other leg, and she, my legs were down and my, covers were back up at this point. But she had her hand on my knee, and she looked at me, and she's like, honey, I don't know. That just didn't look right. She was like, I'm no expert. She's like, but I've had 3 kids, and that never happened to me. And I was like, Oh. You know, and then she had to go home because she had to go home to her family, you know. You know, so she gave me a hug as much as she could, you know, because I was just kind of just laying there like, I just had a baby, but I haven't held him yet, you know. But I did hear him cry, that's cool. You know, kind of going through that and everything like that. Nurse comes in, she's like, I'm just here to check on you. I'm like, okay. She throws the covers back, you know, because she has to check all of the, you know, the site of birth, if you will. And she looks down and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? Did I have twins? And she's like, no, no, no. And she runs out of the room and I'm like, the fuck is going on? And yeah, next one coming up.